something monumentous and historic happened this week. And no, I'm not talking about the American election. I am talking about the release of the Christian movie, The Carpenter. And if you've never heard of it, it's what happens when every once in a while Christians try to sit at the cool kid table in the cafeteria. And so since we have been talking about the election a lot in this country, I thought it might be fun for us to just take a little break and react to the trailer of The Carpenter. And that's what we're talking about this week. Kindred UMC live show features adults discussing adult topics, occasionally with adult language. It may not be suitable for young viewers. Please use discretion before watching. Hello all, welcome once again to the Kindred UMC pre-recorded live show, coming to you not live but pre-recorded from my front room, aka Kindred Studio A. My name is Chris Hayden. I am the pastor of Kindred UMC.
Hi, I'm Andrew, and I'm the lay leader of Kindred UMC.
Hi, I'm Taylor, and I'm the resident gay, non-binary exploring candidate.
Exploring candidate. Sorry, I'm exhausted. My bad. Time change is a real kick in the butt, isn't it? You know?
I've also been moving furniture all day like it's my job.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, exciting.
You guys don't need boxes, do you?
No.
I've got boxes. I have a lot of boxes.
Thanks.
So we were in the middle of a series called, I think I named it like 7 different things. One of them was hypocrisy, and the other one was what reasons people hate the church. So I'm not sure which, anyway. And as we were in this week, the church released, or not the church, but
I was like, wow, that's
obviously the faith-based folks who produced this film released a trailer for their MMA Jesus movie, not set in modern times when we have the UFC and all the actual different cage fighting leagues, but set back in Bible times. It's an MMA Jesus movie, and I just, we were in the middle of a series, Reasons People Hate the Church, and I saw the trailer, and I was like, I think this might be one of them. So I haven't seen the movie or anything, and well, let's go ahead and play the trailer for you guys. I know I sent it to you, but you watched it on your phones and driving, and whatever.
I didn't watch it while I was driving. He was driving.
Yeah.
Just clarify.
So let's watch it and then just get your maybe second reaction to it, and then I'll put it through the magic of film and cinema. I'll put it in the actual thing.
What does AMC say? The magic of movie cinema.
Magic of, the Nicole Kidman trailer thing we all saw. Here we go.
Man,
Warren,
where are you from?
Cana.
You don't look like you're from Canaan.
I know where I'm from.
You say I know I'm from.
You have to weaken them all and you win the fight. You cannot fight only with your fists. You must use this organ too.
I'm just going to say it's a modern looking crowd.
Yeah.
You are a champion fighter. Just don't lose focus.
Use whatever time you have to train and heal. And no distractions.
What are you doing for work?
I'm an apprentice.
You know how ancient Jerusalem had a bunch of
white people,
Irish and black guys?
The Prince of Peace.
You think it's true what people say about him? He's not like anyone I've ever worked with. Does Carpenter paying you? He takes care of what I need.
There are many good life lessons to be learned from sport.
Is that Jesus?
Yep.
That's Jesus.
That one?
Can you cultivate
That one.
At least he's got a beard.
positively
Hey,
affect those around you? To let your light
Is that Mary?
shine.
Their beards are all perfectly manicured too.
Oh, yeah.
Jerusalem Invitational, 400 denarii.
The Jerusalem
None of this is
Invitational.
ours. If you don't keep fighting with that money,
I would jump in the fight.
You really enjoy it?
It's not just the fight. It's training, walking out of each fight knowing that I defeated whatever they put in front of me.
You are aware of his miracles.
He's a carpenter, son of a carpenter.
He's not a carpenter. We'll talk about that.
So why help me? I'm nobody.
You're somebody to me.
Aww. That was sarcastic.
I feel like the Roman soldiers are doing like martial arts.
The Jesus is giving me severe discount Pedro Pascal vibes.
Oh my God, you're right. No, you're so
That's
right.
actually a good
memory of you.
Shut up, Conan O'Brien. Okay, all right. So
They could have put Conan O'Brien in that movie and it would have been more interesting.
they did. Like the dude's redheaded, white as the day is long.
That was my first thought. I was like, why are they all white? Why are they all white? And then the one black guy, where'd he come from?
Well, so there's a lot. It's a very like ethnically mixed. If you're paying attention to the because this is like the 5th time I've watched this trailer today. Yeah. So it is a very. It's like. You know, DEI, and I get it. I understand where but it is ancient Jerusalem. It's 2,000 years ago. Like, you had two people. You had Romans and Israelites. That's who you had.
Right. And, we weren't, flying to each other.
Yeah,
there was no Amelia Earhart yet.
There weren't a lot of redhead, pale-skinned dudes.
Especially, fighting.
Hey, he knows where he's from.
Yeah, he does know where he's from. He said so. I heard it. Okay, so this is another thing that I just think is kind of... The only reason I bring this up is because I think the people who made the movie wouldn't like it.
Nice.
Seemed a little gay?
It did seem a little gay. Thank you. So I had 3 thoughts, and you've named 2 of them so far. Because you can't tell me that's gay Jesus.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with a gay Jesus if it's like a fantasy world, but the idea that they're like broing down hardcore.
It was hard romances.
I was expecting Bud Light to make an appearance at some point. Like, it was
Can you imagine if you walked over and cracked it?
Yeah.
Dylan Mulvaney pops up and
it's like, I told you, I knew Jesus was gay. Any other thoughts before I kind of you down front.
I only ever do that when I'm with you anyway. So you named 2 of my thoughts. My third thought was at the very beginning he says you can't just fight with your hands, you got to fight with this too, and that's so freaking funny. That's so funny because it literally couldn't be farther from the truth. Because the truth that a lot of people, Christians namely, lack that part of the truth. I agree that you need to use this organ too.
Yes.
But we as Christians don't always use that organ.
I think what you're talking about is maybe like avoiding fights. Like using this organ to like live your life in a way that's non-violent.
Right, or just like...
No, he's talking about, you have to know where to punch him hard.
Right, and that's not the point. Why is that the point? Why is that a point?
To be fair, that is kind of his point. That seems to be his only thing.
Yeah, right.
He punches people. So.
I don't understand
I'll say this.
It seems like 2 movies that they decided to merge into one.
Right, they were like, we gotta make the Karate Kid, but Jesus.
So I love the UFC. I love MMA. I used to train in MMA. I did a black belt in Taekwondo, and then as an adult, as a younger man, when I didn't have this and I was a lot more flexible, I spent a lot of time underneath large men.
Put that in the thumbnail. Please put that in the thumbnail.
But I genuinely, I loved training jiu-jitsu and I loved training Muay Thai. Wrestling, I always hated because I lost at wrestling every time. Like you have to start doing that from a young age. But before you get like monkey strength, you get gorilla hands.
I agree.
So that's why I ended up at the bottom a lot, But if you through jiu-jitsu, and that's what I liked about it. Jiu-jitsu is a very mental game.
Yeah.
You definitely have to have strength, and you have to be able to endure a lot, and there is certainly a strong element of it. But all this to say, I love MMA, and I'm a pastor. I literally have spent thousands of dollars and countless hours becoming a professional Christian. This should be the movie for me, and I hate it.
I want to clarify.
It's such a weird, convoluted, insistent mashup. It's like, it is the weirdest thing in the world. There was no MMA in Jerusalem around the turn of the AD BC turnover. There's no...
It's giving... there's a song... I used to be a preschool teacher, and I say used to because I just quit. Anyway, I used to be a preschool teacher, and there was this song that was like, do you like apples? And then it was like, yeah. And then it was like, do you like something random, spaghetti, and then it was like, yeah, and it was like, do you like apples and spaghetti? And it's like, no. It's like, what is this?
I know.
It's like, what is this? The fucking 3-year-olds understand that doesn't go together. Why?
The main guy is a charisma black hole. I can feel my interest being sucked away by his very existence.
He's got to be like a nephew of somebody.
I also want to clarify, I want to watch
Jesus was
this.
kind of interesting.
That's only because Jesus is hot.
He is hot.
Like, and also, so their take is like, it's literally called the Carpenter. So I get what they're doing. Their take on it is like, oh, he's like a laborer. He would be buff. And it's like, yeah, he would, if he was, but he wasn't. He wasn't a carpenter.
You're missing the point on that one.
And also, probably nutrition, like, there wasn't a lot of chicken breast to go around. Like, it's not like he was pounding protein, you know? He wasn't like a buff Jesus. And he certainly didn't.
Without being like cut.
Yeah, right. Well, and he wasn't, you know, there's a very serious aesthetic that's like so deliberate and so on point, I guess. It reminds me a lot of, without getting, you know, divisively political, it reminds me a lot of both parties candidates seem to be going after the bro crowd, you know? And like there's a lot of like, hey, what it means to be a man language around both campaigns right now.
And the like AI generated images.
Yeah.
This is giving, I want to appeal to the young generation without appealing to the young generation.
It's not just the young generation, it's the like, because I will say there is something to, I've heard people talk about it and deal with it much more eloquently than I'm about to, but there is something to this. There's a bunch of men out there who, for all kinds of reasons, social media, lack of parents in the home, all kinds of reasons, there's an entire generation of young men who have no idea what to do with their testosterone and like how to like. It's like I see pretty girl, don't know what to do, and every young man kind of feels that way. But I had guidance. I had something that helped me develop into
was it
a
MMA
direction.
in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago?
Honestly, martial arts was a big part of it. It wasn't 2,000 years ago, but yeah, martial arts.
Wow, you look good for 2,000.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, martial arts was a part of it. A bigger part of it was literally the guy I talk about all the time, John Legg. He was my youth director and then my pastor, and he was whatever the opposite of toxic masculinity is. Yeah. Like it was good, healthy masculinity. Like I remember, because I was a nerd and a dork and I didn't know what to do with myself. And I remember playing like flag football with the youth group, and he was an athlete. He was like a college athlete. He was like an athletic guy. And I remember the first time that like I made a play or something, and he like smacked me on the butt. It was like appropriate. I could see it in his face when he did it. He was like, oh, probably shouldn't have done that. He was a college athlete. Yeah, he was used to doing that. And but then he said like, hey, you could play football. And it was the first time that anybody had ever said anything about my physicality that was like, you have chances, you can do what you want. You're in high school, man. You should pick the things you like. Now for me, that ended up turning into theater because at heart, I'm a dork. But there was something about that. It was a positive masculinity that was absent in my life. And there's a whole generation of guys out there. And I think that's what they think they're doing. But it's like, it's so ham-fisted and so like insincere to me, just on the trailer alone. And it's like,
them calling it the Carpenter is them not using this.
Well,
this organ.
I think a lot of what they're going for is like, especially like it's sort of tapering off, which is sort of why I think it's funny that this is coming up now. But there was a bunch of movies for a while that were tapping into that same general thing, and they had a similar naming style, like The Fighter and The Prisoner.
The Beekeeper was one.
Yeah, so like...
I thought you were going to say Bird Box, and I was like, that's different.
Yeah.
So I think that they're trying to make one of those movies, but also Christian.
Tooken. The Tooken verse.
Yep.
Taken.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I should
I
laugh.
wasn't sure if you were following. You know, it was funny. Tookening.
I think from an outsider, because I obviously did not grow up man. I didn't grow up man.
I never grew up man.
I think this just feels so like, because I grew up on the opposite, where it was like everyone, like the men in my life cared about the men and that was it. And that's specific to my experience.
And that was it.
That's my experience.
Because I really liked that sentence up until that part, and then I was like, that's where it always goes wrong. You know.
But like certain family members cared about my brother more than me.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. I grew up like that.
Yeah.
And so I think this feels like there's no room for women or people with uteruses to enjoy this movie and understand this movie.
But you know what? I don't mind that in a general sense.
Yeah. Because what are they going to come up with next? Like The Virgin?
I mean, there are going to be movies that are geared more towards,
which I agree with. I think they're just not doing it in the correct way.
Right. So I think
it's going to fail the Bechdel test.
It's going to fail the Bechdel test
shit. Right. I think I saw one woman in
and I don't want to. It was supposed to be married.
The way they did this shot and the music was obvious. They were like, "Oh, this is the romantic interest," just so you know. And then they immediately cut away and did
and I just want to clarify. I don't have a problem with there being like movies for men.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
You go watch your Fight Club, whatever the hell you want to watch.
Yeah, Fight Club's
That's
awesome,
my fiance's favorite movie, but it's fine. I've never seen it, but I just want to it doesn't feel sincere. You know what I mean? I think you got it right. It doesn't feel sincere, and it doesn't feel like.
I would say so. The opposite for that was I remember talking with you and Hannah about the Barbie movie.
Yeah.
And I was like. And she was like, have you seen it? Are you going to see it? I was like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
No, I'm not, and it's not for me, and that's fine. I'm glad we had a successful movie in a year of terrible movies.
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody was having fun out there for once, you know. But it's not for me.
This just feels like the wrong way to do it.
So,
just from the trailer alone, I could watch the movie and be like, whatever, I don't know. But,
so again, I literally this popped up for me this morning as I was kind of like reviewing my notes for what we were supposed to talk about. I was kind of like I can't remember what spawned it, but I was researching, so I was looking. It was
a really random text again.
I was going down a rabbit hole and looking at it, and then it popped up. And then I kind of spent all day going back and forth, and I just couldn't get it out of my head.
Yeah.
It's almost like a song that got stuck in my head. And I kept on going, and then finally I sent you guys a text. I was like, what if we just punted and talked about this stupid movie?
Yeah.
And
which
so
I'm here for.
So that for me begs the question, like, why? Why am I so, what is it about this that just kind of like is an itch in my soul? What is this thing that I'm just going like, why do I hate this the way it is? And for me, it comes down to what I think they're doing, which is that I think they're going after young men. I think they want to fill a need. You know, I think they see a generation of young men who, lack guidance in whatever way, and they're suffering because of it. I do think that the people who did this have not only profit in mind, but also they want to do something good and make a profit, And so like, kudos to that. The thing that I would offer in critique to that is, what's actually really helpful for young men is the truth about Jesus.
Yeah.
The reality of who Jesus was and what Jesus taught. And you don't have to make him this buff, blue collar guy who's friends with an MMA fighter. Like, what? There weren't any MMA. They were gladiators, but they were slaves, and Jesus wasn't really talking with them that much. He was a rabbi, and
I think that's where I struggle with it too. I think that's where I struggle with it.
It's just breaking so many. It's lying so much to try and go after this kernel of truth, and it's like, well, at some point you've lied too much to be trustworthy at all, and so whatever good news you might be hiding in here, it's like, you've so utterly distorted and misrepresented what this is. And if I could talk to these, producers, director, writer, whatever, if I could talk to the creatives and I could look them in the eye and they were genuinely like, no, this is who Jesus was, I would disagree with them, but then at least I would be like, Well, they come by it honestly. At least there's that.
Yeah.
I do not remotely have the sense that that is what's happening.
No.
Yeah.
To me, it seems so obvious that they're like, you know what the problem with Jesus is? He's such a bitch wimp, I'll say. You know, like
kitty cat.
Yeah, it feels like there's these guys around the table going like, you know, if we could just find a way to make Jesus like buff and bro and
like turn him into Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, if we could like give him some tea, you know, like it feels like that. And I'm like, dude, you should not be proselytizing. The truth about who Jesus is if you can actually bother to like learn it and interact with it, and it is so utterly compelling and helpful, not just to young bros, but like to a world in need.
Yeah.
It's so much more universal and more powerful a message of grace. And they've taken this amazing, world-changing, revolutionary idea that has brought people freedom for thousands of years, and they've made like, hey man, muscle Jesus. It's like, and I just want to scream to the heavens about it.
I'm also
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm also a little dubious of the method of them trying to do this, because Christian movies exist. There are plenty of them, and they are almost exclusively watched by Christians. So this is a Christian movie. It'll probably only be watched by Christians.
Aside from the poor saps who get tricked into watching it by some date or something. Yeah, like some Christian girl.
Let's go watch an MMA movie.
He's trying to date her and she's like, I know the movie you'd like. Let me show you this. And then he's watching the movie and she's watching him.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
So what'd you think? Yeah, it's that.
But I just don't see how are you going to reel in anybody with this kind of message? Because the kind of guys that would watch a movie like The Fighter are going to see this and realize that half of it's going to be about this not actually gay but seemingly gay relationship with Jesus, and they're going to be immediately turned off and never watch it.
And confused.
So,
it's going to confuse them.
It's funny because they get they get the bromance wrong. Like, you know, because I said earlier, this is in the 90s, by the way. You know, my youth director at one point, smacked me on the butt because of a good play. That didn't feel awkward or ham-fisted, except for he immediately felt awkward in it, and that was hilarious to me. And I make fun of him all the time for it. If you're out there, John. But that was a genuine, that was actually bromance.
A relationship.
It was romantic, you know. We were all being, you know, and it was a mixed crowd because it was youth group and it was flag football, so there were women there too. But it was fucking. Oh, I'm not allowed to say that, but it felt good. It felt positive. And there is something about the homophobia, that fight. That's what fights homophobia is effective, good, healthy, masculine friendships amongst heterosexual men that include all kinds of things and all kinds of people and all kinds of that's what fights homophobia, and that's what I had. That's what I grew up with. Yeah. But
you're unique.
This
in that,
is
by the way.
wrong.
Yeah, this is wrong.
This is awkward and weird, and to the point where it feels like is this gay? Are they going
also
for that?
Power
Which I'm all for gay Jesus.
He's an apprentice.
He's a rabbi, and he but I don't think they're going for Jesus as a rabbi. They're going for Jesus as a carpenter, and
Jesus is his boss. So there's
so for me immediately, I'll talk to you about it after. But immediately, this gives me my old church vibes.
Right.
Because it comes from a place of we're going to take Jesus and somehow make him more and less than he is at the same time. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, they're adding things in that diminish him.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it feels very the men need help. And it's whoa.
Yeah, it's hey, you know what would be actually helpful is the truth about Jesus.
Yeah. I was
the reality.
I was literally just watching a sermon from my old pastor yesterday for research purposes. I don't listen to that MF anymore. Anyway,
this is not your uncle. This is
not my uncle.
Right,
I love my uncle. Love you.
Right.
Boo. Anyways, I was listening to my old pastor for research purposes, and I was just getting this vibe of ugh, ew, I feel icky. I don't I kept looking at Andrew and being ugh, I don't like this. And that's what this movie gives me. It gives me like, this isn't the message that I know. This isn't the Jesus that I know. This isn't the God that I know. And this isn't the relationship that I have.
It's literally not what I read in scripture.
Right. And I feel like, why would you make a movie that's so far out of scripture?
How are you trying to proclaim the gospel by changing the gospel?
And when I was in youth camp, I heard this guy yelled at me, and I take it to this day. He's like, you cannot paraphrase the Bible. He told me that when I was a kid, right? So to some degree, I feel like that fits this of like, you cannot change the Bible. Like, to some degree of like, you can't just say, like,
don't alter it.
Right, don't alter it.
Don't add things to it. Don't take things away from it.
Right.
Something that I just thought of is that I can picture an interesting plot with this same general concept. Obviously the MMA is weird, but like something akin to like a warrior having to like comes to terms with like.
There's literally an anecdote in one of I think it's Matthew, about a Roman soldier.
Yeah. But like I could imagine this being so much more interesting if Jesus wasn't a main character, if it's about this warrior and Jesus is like a figure that's like in the next town or something, and the teachings are like flowing in.
Write some fan fiction.
Yeah, and he's learning about this stuff through like tertiary sources, and so he's coming through his own journey, but like Jesus isn't part of it. I think that would be more interesting.
I hadn't thought about this in forever, but because I was involved in theater, as I said, and I was like on the church drama team. And
church had a drama team?
Yeah.
That's lit.
That's where I first like got on stage. For the first time in my life, I got on
so
stage.
Different from me.
Wildly
different.
I will say, it was Aloma United Methodist Church. It was a great church.
You were a great church, and I didn't even go.
Yeah, man, it was good. And a lot of that, I believe, had to do with John Legg's specific influence.
Smacking you on the butt that one day.
And I'll never forget the joy I felt.
Is that why Jesus is gay?
Something came alive in me that day.
Sometimes you can still feel it.
But so
maybe stretching the bounds of this video.
We may have gone a little off the rails. Hope the bishop's not calling me in for another talking to.
This is all a joke, guys. Don't take it literally.
Just like the Bible.
So I was on. Yeah, don't take the Bible. I was on the drama team, and as we grew and that became like a bigger and bigger piece. One year we did like a in-house written like whole. It was like a one-act play. Yeah. And it was based on that Roman soldier, and I played the lead. I played that Roman soldier, and like it's literally like a paragraph in one of the Gospels. You know, basically this one Roman soldier has this one interaction with Jesus, and it changes his life. You know, and then it's like so. And then it was interesting to explore the idea of like, okay, so what must have been happening for that Roman soldier before then to even approach a Jewish rabbi who may or may not be a prophet, who may or may not be this coming, you know, like what it would take to cross those cultural boundaries. Yeah. And it was a pretty like dramatic, it wasn't a comedy, it was like a dramatic scene. And then it was an Easter thing, so of course it ends in the resurrection and the empty tomb and all that stuff.
And the bunnies.
You know, like, yeah, and of course the chocolate eggs, because the color of the chocolate.
Of course the unicorns are flying and pooping jelly beans.
The color of the chocolate and the color of the wood on the cross.
Yeah, and the sugar rush symbolizes the passion for the Lord.
Right, exactly.
We could have a whole episode on the passion for the Lord.
It was amateurish for sure.
Of course, you guys were kids.
But it felt
like that's okay.
It felt more sincere.
Yeah.
And then this.
Yeah.
You know?
This feels like they were like. It literally feels like they were like, let's just fuck around and find out. That's what that feels like.
Let's just bro it out and see how many baptisms we get. You know, we'll make some.
I imagine one of the mega churches bleep this here like Hillsong being like, all right, boom, baptism, boom, baptism, and just like watching the movie and like people are just like sprouting up. Like that's
that one counts. That one counts. He raised his hand. Yeah.
Crazy.
So I'm going to, even though I didn't read from that sermon in Matthew 23, we will get back to that next week. I thought it was, because one of the things that came up as I was asking was like insincerity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
truly.
People in the church not really believing the thing that they believe in.
Yeah.
And like what they're telling
needing to alter it and change it and like distort it to make it more like publicly. It's like, if you're a Christian out there and you feel the need to distort the good news of Jesus Christ, pronouncing the arrival of the kingdom of heaven here and now, if that's not good enough for you and you need to change it, then it really begs the question. I don't think you're engaging that reality in a sincere way. Like if you feel the need to distort the gospel, then I would argue that you're probably not engaging the real gospel, you know? Yes.
And I want to say, because I am a person that has experienced this multiple times in my life, of where I'm like, ooh, I don't know. That might not be your fault. That might be what you're being preached. Absolutely.
That's a great word. Thank you for saying that.
So don't take what we're saying and be like, oh my God, I'm not doing it right.
Yeah.
Because it very likely, for my reality and a lot of realities I know about there, it's not your fault that you feel that way.
Yeah, if you're engaging the gospel and you're going like, this can't be the good news, you're right. Trust that feeling.
Yeah, trust that.
Trust
and
that
run
feeling
with that.
and lean more heavily on God as best you can. Mm-hmm. Find a church that's saying something that sounds good and engage good.
Find a church that preaches more than the Old Testament.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my grandma about that today. Crazy. Well, find one that actually teaches the Gospels. You know?
and there's something about no church is going to do it perfect. You're going to get inconsistencies and paradoxes and contradictions and all that. That's going to happen for sure, and that's why we trust so much in grace. You don't have to get it all right. That's part of the kingdom of heaven. That's part of the good news.
It's literally why Jesus is here.
Yeah, you don't have to get it all right, but the essential nature of the kingdom of heaven and this Holy Spirit that we believe in, that's permeating everything that we're doing, the essential nature is that if you will lean into it, God will make up for the inconsistencies and the mistakes and the stuff you regret and the wounds that you've suffered, and the grace of God abounds in all of those places. So lean into the good news that the kingdom of heaven has come here. And you don't need to add anything else to it. So, I've probably gone on too long, as I often do. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.